Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to SMMconnect's event today, the current recruiting landscape for sales with Henry Glickel, who is president of Sales Recruiters Inc. We're very fortunate to have him with us today. We hope that you can join us for these upcoming webinars on March 8th. We have Make Someone's Day to Strengthen Customer and Employee Bonds with Howard Prager. We also have Kendra Lee, Prospecting Time Management Strategies for Your Sales Team. And on March 15th, we have Michael Leimbach and David Yesford for Versatility, the secret weapon of today's Salesforce. Very intriguing topic. You can get access to all of the calendar of events by going to smmconnect.com. The calendar's right there at the homepage, landing page. And if you're on Twitter and don't want to miss the latest ebooks, resources, infographics, things that we give away for free, connect on Twitter at SMMconnect us. And also, are you getting your copy of Sales and Marketing Management Magazine? If you subscribe, you just go to salesandmarketing.com/subscribe, and you can get these SMM focus reports. And these are topics that your counterparts are thinking and talking about. So make sure you grab your free copy, salesandmarketing.com/subscribe. This recording is going to be put into the webinar archive, and you can search the database of all of our previous webinars. We have over 43,000 members now. This graphic is a little bit old, and they're from around the globe with the main interest in sales and marketing. So we're glad you're joining us. And before I turn things over to Henry, and thank you again for introducing yourself in chat, I'm going to open up a poll. And here's the question. It's going to pop up on your screen. How are you finding the environment for recruiting sales professionals in the 2021-2022 compared to 2018? Is it extremely harder to recruit, the same as 2018, easier to recruit than back in the old days of pre-pandemic living, or is it much easier? So what say you? We've got quite a few people who've joined. Let's see if we can get 80% of you to participate in the poll on the screen, and then I'll be excited to turn things over to Henry Glickel, our speaker for today. So about half of you have weighed in. Very interesting results. Last chance to weigh in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, here we go. So 29% of you said extremely harder to recruit. 50% said harder, and 21% said the same. So that's interesting. Almost 80% harder or extremely harder. That is amazing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and welcome back to SMM Connect. I'll have you join us on camera and share your screen. There he is, the one and only Henry Glickel. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you very much, Sandra. Um, let me see. Let me just
Yeah,
share,
go ahead and just share your
share my
screen.
screen. Okay, great.
And
Okay.
what I'm going to do, wait for it. I'm going to post a PDF copy of Henry's slides today. And you know what I love about Henry's presentation? He cites all of the sources for the data that he's going to share today, and that is phenomenal. So you're going to have all of those links, and thank you for that, Henry. It's all yours.
Now, oh, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Sandy, you have been so great to work with in getting this kind of set up and making sure everything's done right. The only thing that was really scary was had that poll come out and instead of being 80% harder or extremely hard, if it said, oh, it's easier and extremely easier, I go, just hang up and go get an ice cream or so, or a hot chocolate or a Starbucks, because this isn't going to be relevant to you. But I'm not surprised by those poll results, which is why this is a topic that's come up. So I'm really excited about giving this session. I have been asked so much over the last probably almost a year and a half. Even during the beginning of COVID, we were seeing it, that the challenges of finding talent sales talent is causing a lot of companies issues. In fact, I have on my monitor here a saying. It says, "What's the business problem that the talent gap is solving?" And that's what I do as a recruiter, is help find that or lessen that talent gap. What we're realizing now is that talent gap is not a gap, it's a chasm for some companies. So what I've done is I did some research with the help, and I'll give those acknowledgments at the end, of what is happening in the environment today and why people are experiencing, hiring authorities, managers, individuals in the industry that are experiencing significant issues in the recruiting realm. So, or in finding salespeople specifically. Okay. So here's the topic. By the way, I have my name in lowercase. It's something that I did ever since after college. I started putting my name in lowercase. I kind of liked it, the way it looks. And a lot of times I do that when possible. So we're really going to talk today about the labor shortage of salespeople and basically what's leading to it. People are talking about the Great Resignation, but there's demographics, there's generational issues. And then I'm going to hopefully give you some steps to help you step into and find hiring success. Okay. Okay. So we could go on and talk about a variety of things in my bios and all that, but basically if you want to know about me, I've been doing recruiting for 26 years, been president of recruiting of sales recruiters. We're one of only 10 firms in the United States that's accredited by the National Association of Personnel Services and as an NAF. You got to run through a lot of rigorous evaluations, and you got to reassess and get evaluated every year. I also have the pleasure of being a certified employee retention specialist, which basically is an oxymoron, because as a recruiter, I want turnover and that creates my business. But in reality, I really want my clients to keep and hold their people. So that's why I thought it was important to get that designation. There's probably 25 of us in the United States. And then I hold a CPC. I apologize, I don't hold a CTS. I hold a CPC certification, which is Certified Personnel Consultant. I'm a very proud member. I'm an OWL from Temple University for graduate work, but undergraduate, I'm very proud of my work. My tenure at Stockton University, where I'm the chairperson of the School of Business Dean's Advisory Board, a great group of individuals. And there's my LinkedIn profile. If you feel inclined to want to connect with me, send me a LinkedIn invitation. Later on, I'll give you my email address if you want to call me directly. Whether you're a client or an industry professional, just feel free and give me a call. Okay. And by the way, there's some great sessions that were talked about at the beginning. I think you'll find extremely relevant. So hopefully you'll be able to attend those too. Sales and Marketing Management Connect is a great venue for you to utilize the times to get in touch and get information in a very short, concise, hour-long. The nice thing is you get to review the information and you get the slides in many cases. So let's move on. Let's talk about how the population's changing. Okay, if you think about it, that the population in the United States in 1980 was a little bit over 2. And by the way, don't take notes because these slides will be there. But I'm just going to give you kind of a picture of the population, employment, and age grouping. So we're going to start out with population. United States population in 1980 was a little bit over 226 million. 2000, it was a little over about 282 million. 2020, 329 million, estimated about 380 million. Okay, the population, by the way, grew in 2019 and 20, it grew 1.2 million, which was a pretty good clip, but 41% of that came from growth from immigration. But that immigration, most likely, that growth will not be individuals that are more likely salespeople, because they may be technical people, H-1B visas and things like that. And also the other observation is the population's getting older. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And all these sources will be labeled out to you on each slide. But basically between 1980 and 2000, there was about a 17% increase, about a 16% increase from 20 to 22, or 2000 to 2020. And then between 2020 and 2040, it's projected to about another 16%. So keep in mind, that's a number, 17% increase in the general population. Let's look at where the labor shortage is, okay? The labor shortage is, why is there labor shortage? So if we look at it, the population in the United States overall grew 45% in raw numbers. So if you think about it, there should be, quote, enough people on a general population and look at. But if you scale and peel this onion back, here's what you're going to find. That the number in the workforce, so let's peel it back. And the number in the workforce basically was 106 million of the 226 million that were in the total US population. That's about 47% of the population was in the workforce. In 2020, 142 million of the workforce, of the 282 million population, 142 million of them, about 50% was in the workforce. In 2020, of the 339 million, 160 million were in the workforce, about 47%. And projected to be in 2040, it's projected that of the 380, 180 million people will be in the workforce. So if you look at it, about 50%, 47 to 50% of the workforce of the population is employed in the workforce. Okay, but we didn't have the labor shortage that we did in 80 and 2000. What's happened? Let's dig a little deeper. Let's look at the 15-year-olds, 15 to 34-year-olds. Now, somebody goes, I don't employ 15 to 34-year-olds. I understand you may not now, but I want you to think about in sales. The 15 to 34-year-olds at the lower end of that age group, those are the individuals that are working in, let's say, in retail operations, in the supermarkets, in the restaurants, the bus people, the hostesses, the people that are working cashiers or working in the dry cleaners, the front desk. My son does that. That's why I use that as an example. Or as my daughter does, scoops ice cream in the summer at the local ice cream place. If you look at this, okay, that's that group. So let's go up to let's say the 22 to 30-year-olds of this age group. Those are 22 to, let's say, 25. Those are your entry-level salespeople. Those are the people that your BDRs if you're in tech. They're your outside entry-level salespeople. Those are the people at enterprise who take them out of college, put them in the sales and training program, and they employ tens of thousands of those individuals out and recruit them right out of college. They're the people that are selling office products, that are selling, those are your entry-level people. Even if you don't have those entry-level needs, okay, these population trends are going to affect you because that's going to affect who you need that are more experienced. So let's look at this. The population in the United States is growing at about 17% every 20 years between 1980 and 2020, right? 17% increase every year, year on year. But if you look at these numbers, in the year 2000, the population of the 15 to 34-year-olds, that first level and second, maybe even the sales managers of those sales forces, basically is the same amount of people for 20 years. Now, in 2020, it went up to 88 million, but that's only like a 4% increase, but population grew at 17%. So basically, this age group had the lowest growth, or has the lowest growth of the ones that I've researched. But the population, but the takeaway is this population group only grew 10% between 1980 and 2000. Now you're going to see a spike in here in 2040, is because there's a population kind of new set of these groups that will basically, that were born prior to it, that will be of working age by 2040. Just taking a sip of coffee there. Okay, let's look at the age of 34 to 44, 35 to 44. Tighter group, but when we're looking at a working age, and we didn't evaluate individuals under 15 because they really weren't truly in the workforce. Some of them may be entrepreneurial and they may do work, but most of them are really not in the accountable sector of the workforce. Let's take a look. In 1980, there were 25 million, okay? A little over 25 million. In the year 2000, a little over 45 million. And in 2040, it's going to be 126 million. Okay, let's take a look at this. Remembering the US population is growing at only 17% every 20 years. If you look here, the age group from 80 to 2000, this age group of 30 to 44 grew at 73%. But then what happened? It decreased. It decreased because those individuals basically aged into, basically, for lack of a better word, aged into the next group. The part of this group, okay, from 2020 is from the previous 2020, this previous age years, 2020, that's what creates the people in this age group. These were the 15 to 34-year-olds in 2020. I'm sorry, in 2000. In 2000, many of these people were in the 15 to 34-year-olds. Now they're growing into here. But the demographics pop up. What happens is the population decreased in 2020. So these 35 to 44-year-olds, not the entry-level salespeople, more experienced, or career changers who got into sales after they did other things. Many times people move from, let's say, retail sales, and once they get to a certain age, because of hours and family, they want to get into more professional sales, or in what we recruit for, they want to get into those B2B sales and outside of retail. Well, those people who want to move into there, there's less of them. So again, part of this group was the 15 to 34-year-old cohorts from the previous 20 years. Okay, keep in mind this population grew, is projected to grow significantly, or grew significantly, 64% from 1980 to 2020, but really most of that growth occurred in that first 20 years. Now, and then it decreased in the next 20 years. Then it's going to explode into here. But we got to look at what's now. Okay, remember the population, US population grew at 70% every 20 years from 1980 to 2020. Let's look at this age group of the 35 to 64-year-olds. This grew at 38% between 1980 and 2000. I'm sorry, and 2020, it grew 38%. I'm sorry, 38% in these 20 years, and another 34% in here. But it's only projected to increase 10% between basically last year or 2 years ago and 2040. This is all projected, okay? It grew at 86% in this 40 years, and it's basically going to grow at only a very short, less than 10%. There's, by the way, this is where all these statistics come into. Let's look at the 65 pluses. Now, somebody goes, we don't hire any 65, we don't have any individuals are retiring. Well, something happened in the year 2008. Well, in the year 2000, many individuals were thinking they were going to retire at 55 years old. And all of their telecom investments were going to make them multimillionaires, and they were going to create their own foundations and they could retire early. Well, the dot bomb hit, and many of those portfolios significantly reduced, and those individuals didn't retire at 55, okay, like they wanted to. So they said, okay, I got to work until I'm 60 or 65. Let's fast forward 8 years. In 8 years, in 2008, the stock market went from 14,000 down to about 6,900 or 6,500, a reduction of almost 40 or 50%. And most people's 401ks and their retirements went down that 40%. That's why they call the decade of 2000 to 2010, the lost decade. Basically, most of the people that the money did, their investments didn't come back. It was almost like level, which not only did it only come back to that level, but for 10 years, it didn't grow what it should have. Well, that delayed retirement again for those 55 to 60-year-olds. They were pushing even further out. But let's like to look at demographically. They grew, keep in mind, the population of the US grew at 17% in the 20 years between 1980 and 2000, and then and 2020. So growth of 17%. Let's look at this age group. It grew at 36% from 80 to 2000, 60% from 2000 to 2020, and it's going to grow another 71%. Why is this important? These are individuals that are going to naturally age out of the workforce. Okay, maybe they retire because of health reasons. Maybe they retire because they may have had enough money, or they may not be able to maintain the kind of sales jobs that they want to. Hopefully they do. By the way, I'm placing more 50-year-olds than I am under 40s for a variety of reasons. And my clients are realizing the benefits of individuals that are more experienced. But basically, if you look at it, and that's just my philosophy there, that's not a demographic or a valid research, that's just an opinion. The population basically grew 117% between 1980 and 2020. Now, more importantly, it's going to grow another 71%. So what's going to happen is those cohorts from 30 years ago are now going to age into the 65 pluses. Okay, the 25-year-olds or 35-year-olds from 2000 and let's say 2000, by 2040, those people will be well over 65 years old. Let's look at the U.S. workforce by the age groups. Okay, now we talked about the population. Now let's look at the age groups, workforce. First, it was the population. Let's go back one. Okay, this is the population. Now we're going to talk about the workforce. Okay. So we've got the constraints of the population. Let's look at the workforce. Remember, U.S. workforce, okay? Overall, about 47 to 50% of the entire U.S. population was employed in the workforce, okay? Let's look at the age group. This age group grew only 1.3% from 1980 to 2000. Basically, pretty much almost stagnant for 20 years, okay? And this age group only increased about 2% in the next 20 years, okay? And it's going to increase 27% in the next 20 years. This is a further support that this is further supported as there are over 9 million more jobs than people in employment overall. The number of sales roles advertised has steadily risen this year, up 65%. to more than 700,000 openings. That was in a recent article by, I think it was ZipRecruiter. But basically, there was an article also in the Wall Street Journal. The pay is high, jobs are plentiful, but few want to go into sales. Basically, the work has changed in the recent years, and young workers don't want to be associated with sales because they think that it's high pressure tactics, and the talent is limited. Okay, this has nothing to do with that the generation's lazy or doesn't want to work. That's really not relevant here. What's relevant here is they're having different nuances in life, and more importantly is there's less of them. Okay, let's take a look at the U.S. workforce from 35 to 44-year-olds. Okay, remember, U.S. workforce overall, 47 to 50% of the population was employed, was actively working. Numbers didn't change on the workforce. Population changed. This age group grew 83% from 1980 to 2000, and from decrease 10% from 2000 to 2030. Okay, for a variety of reasons. And if you look at it overall, you say, wow, but it grew 67% in the 40 years. It did, but most of that growth occurred in the first 20 years. In fact, all the growth occurred, and there was a take back for the next 20 years. And if you look at it, it's really, it's decreased 10% in the last couple of years, but it's only going to basically grow maybe 15, 20% in the next 20 years. These are your middle managers, career changers, people making moves from other industries into sales. This decrease in the last 20 years, coupled with the decrease in the 15 to 34-year-old age group, created a pinch in today's labor pool. Here's where your demographics come in, guys. So not only did the population go down, but it pinched because of the workforce. Or that workforce was pinched because of population. Okay? U.S. workforce in 45 to 65-year-olds. Okay? If you look at it, basically his population grew, but the big growth occurred until 2020. If you look at this age group, there's only going to be an additional 1 million people in this 45 to 64-year-old age group in the next basically 19 years. It's going to be stagnant over the next 19 years. It's a 1-2% growth in that age group. There's your middle managers, your career changers, 65 plus. Wow, look at this. It grew 250% from 1980 to 2000. But look at the numbers. It's 3 million, 4 million, 10 million out of 226 million. So your workforce, even though the population is increasing in those areas, the workforce is still basically going to decrease. These are the people that still have to work after 65 for a variety of reasons because they want to work. I like recruiting. I anticipate as long as I'm healthy and capable of still working past 65, maybe not as intensely. But basically the population grew, but the numbers are low. It's 3 million and 4 million and 10 million versus 28 to 60 million. Big difference, okay? It's literally 90% less people, or in this case, in 1980, 90% less people. In 2020, 59 million versus 10 million, 80% difference. So yeah, this population's growing, they're working more and longer, but there's fewer of them that are going to be doing it. Not enough offset those others. Let's look. There was a very interesting article about a nation of quitters. 4.4 million people left their jobs in 2021. But we have 10.4 million openings, surpassing the pre-pandemic levels. In November 2019, there were 6 million job openings. Over the past 12 months, basically ending in September 2021, new hires grew 73 million and separations totaled 67 million. basically there was only a net gain of 5.6 million. Now, those separations could be people moving to other jobs, people retiring for a variety for other reasons too. But basically, there was only a net gain of 5.6 million. Why is that important? There's 10.4 million job openings, and 700,000 of them are in sales. So there's a difference of over 4 million between the number of people who took new jobs and the number of jobs. So call it 6 million and 10 million. That's 4 million more jobs if you estimate them. 4 million more jobs. Of the 4 million more jobs than people, literally 700,000 of them could be in sales, according to that magazine article. And by the way, this is the Forbes article down below, okay? And by the way, quits, let's determine it. Quits are voluntary separations initiated by the employee. These aren't people who are being fired. The quit rate measures the ability to leave a job. Basically, can they leave a job and go to another job, okay? If you think about it, 73 million people left. I'm sorry, 73 million people got hired. 67 million people left their jobs, and most likely of that, sorry about that, went into these jobs. Even if all of them did, which is a big assumption, they still have 4 million more jobs than people, okay? Now, total separations, by the way, are included into quits, layoffs, and discharges and other situations, okay? So let's go to the next one. Oh, I'm sorry. Fortunately, in a hot market, I think there's enough opportunities available that people don't have to worry about finding a new job. And the Great Resignation and the war for talent is likely to continue for the near future. Okay. And let me explain why I think the Great Resignation is important. This is an interesting article that was forwarded to me by one of my recruiters. This is from Inc. magazine, and it's basically employees are returning to the office and they're disappointed. 79% in relating culture, 79% of the employees who have returned to the office-based environment have not experienced the corporate culture improvement that they thought they would see in their colleagues. Corporate culture has become more expansive than just office physical environment. It's like a state of mind tempered with support and motivation. Collaboration. Less than half of the employees returning to the office report experiencing more collaboration. The ability to collaborate or coordinate between the employees is not determined by physical location. That's what companies are just figuring it out. It's by access and intention and ability to connect and talk to people and communicate with them. Maybe not just the water cooler, but now it's over Zooms and it's over virtual happy hours and things like that. Those things, those physical locations, not a precursor for collaboration to occur and succeed. Hard for a lot of people to accept, but this is what's happening. The physical environment is not creating the culture. It's the company and the people that create the culture. Foosball machines and pinball machines and ping pong tables and Keurig coffee makers is nice, but that is a very small situation relating to the corporate culture. Lastly, let's talk about productivity. 2 out of 5 employees report that they were more productive. 40% of the workers felt they were more productive at home than they were in the office. I think that's kind of funny because when I'm at home, we got the dogs. I'm just sometimes a little easier distracted per se. I'm focused, but it's easier to get distracted. I like going to an office because I have a defined work environment, and then I make calls at home after work. But in the meantime, most people, they feel like less commuting time, and the ability to better utilize their meetings and work environment and create their own work environment. That's really important to them. 2 out of 5 are thinking they're more productive at home. Okay, interesting article. There it is. Okay, let's talk about the Great Formation. Employment surged by 1.14 million people, but many people came off the sidelines. This was an interesting article sent to me by Jason Burns, president at Cortivity. They're an ATS, applicant tracking system, CRM, and marketing automation, very strong package in our industry. And he sends me lots of relevant information and articles on a variety of things. And this was an interesting article about a response to the Great Resignation. But basically, the author of this believes that people going to the work for themselves or going to work in a small business are not part of the survey of the Great Formation. Yes, more people are going back to work, but those people, there's other people who aren't going to work. They came off the sidelines, but they're starting their own companies. So basically, the impact of the number of people who are in sales, the sales professionals, are more likely to take the risk of going into business for themselves or starting a company outside of a traditional sales model. They have the confidence, they believe in themselves, so they may be individuals that go off and start their own businesses, okay? Now, let's talk about the climate of hiring. This is an article that that was written. I'm not going to go over all details, but I'm going to kind of go over a couple of them. Basically, caring and being empathetic to our employees will help you retain more of them, especially in the 15 to 34-year-old age group. As most colleges and entry-level and second-level professionals are in, are in this age category. Push forward with hiring, as it will be easier in the next. It will not be getting easier in the next year. That's what I meant to say. We're rapidly making alternative arrangements for our clients in recruitment tactics by allowing for virtual interviews via phone calls, video interviewing, and using technology capacity. In the last year and a half, I have had only 5 in-person interviews. Everyone else has been Zoom, phone, and a variety of conference called kind of panel interviews. Along with enhanced flexibility for virtual interviews, you're offered, many clients are also offering offers with open start dates, because while an employee may not be needed at this moment, they're looking to the future to lock them down when they need them in the future. So if you've got an individual who you're looking at hiring and you want them on board right away, but if they get a bonus coming up in a month, there's things you could do to try to lock them up, get them off of the market, but let them stay at their current job to get a bonus. I have an individual now with a major international company that they're hiring this person in Boston. This person's starting 5 weeks out. They got a 2-week vacation, but that's not the issue. The issue is they got a bonus coming and they need to wait off 3 weeks before that bonus becomes into effect. So I'm saying give them that flexibility. Now, during that 5 weeks, the person that they're hiring, they're really spending a lot of time keeping in communication with them. What they're doing is they're onboarding them before they're on board, before they physically go to work for the company. They're having virtual conversations. HR is getting all the paperwork done. All people they're interviewing with, they're even inviting them to these virtual hours, these virtual coffee hours or cocktail hours. Really innovative that we never would have thought people would have done before. Many of your competitors for this talent are not changing their ways, and if you're willing to, and by the way, they're going to have and will continue to have those challenges. By the way, there's only a select group of people that are on this call, because those are the people that don't see problems or don't want to acknowledge them. What I will tell you is, you do these things, and understanding this will help you outpace your competitors. Now, what I mean by outpace your competitors, I'm not talking about competitors of people from your industry. I'm talking about people who are competing for the same talent you are that other industries are grabbing now. Entry-level salespeople, just using that as an example, are moving from industry to industry. And in reality, is your competition isn't just, let's say you're a office supply company. Your competition for that same person is technology companies, BDR, software as a service, platforms, IT, managed services, lots of different companies. Sales development tools. Well, wait a minute. They're not my competition. They're your competition for the talent pool that you're going after. Okay. Let's see. Hold on. I just want to check my time. Okay, we're making good. Okay. 5 ways that the pandemic has changed the candidate experience. Number one, the candidates appreciate good communication more than ever. And those companies that offer that and communicate more than less are good, are finding themselves better suited. Candidates want more flexible interviews that fit around their schedule. Candidates expect companies to want them to feel better, give them a feel for the culture, even in a remote environment. And candidates want to feel more invested now than ever in hearing about, I don't know what that word is. Obviously, my spell checking is not working so well, about their effort. Also, candidates are placing closer attention on how they're supporting employees' mental health and well-being. What's funny is I'm not advocating having psychiatrists in the office or counselors, but offering resources to individuals, employees, and different employees have different needs, whether they have families or they're working from home, that in reality, offering them resources help out a great deal. I'm not advocating opening up active in work kind of environment situations, but make them aware of those available situations or available, oh Lord, I'm forgetting here, available resources. And a lot of times that's available through your healthcare plans and employee assistance programs. They're already there. Ways companies are making their remote candidate experience a standout. They're making virtual screening process more empathetic and human. I had a client last week. At first, I was like really mad. They were interviewing in a t-shirt and a hat. And I'm like to the client, he said, listen, this is our corporate culture. This is the way we're at. I want them to know and understand what we're at. Okay, I understand now, but at the time, I didn't understand that to be part of the corporate culture. Give remote candidates a virtual tour of when they're going to go back into the office. Physically having somebody take a video of the office and having that available is good. It helps you. Being transparent about what the culture looks like now, not what it looked like before, because it may change. And being honest about the corporate culture, okay? You know, if it's hardcore, hard pressing, you know, very competitive, and then you've got, oh, but we've got a refrigerator stocked with cheese and tea drinks and colas for free. Well, that's nice, but the culture is more than just what's in the physical environment. It's what the mentality is of the people and their interactions and collaborations. Speaking of collaborations, talk about your what your collaboration, communication, and respect is, okay? Because then you'll find the people that appeal to what you're looking for. Attaching helpful resources to remote interview invites. If you have information that's relevant, send it sooner than later. Here was this interesting article by American Staffing. I'm just going to gloss over it real quickly. There were 9.2 million more jobs openings right now. That confirms what was in the earlier slide. Job openings were 7.6 million in November 2018. That's why we asked the poll question. That's a 21% increase in just 3 years, okay? So during pre-pandemic, it was a pretty good market, hot market as far as candidates, right? It's even gotten tighter on the candidate side. Quite simply, we're losing more people from the workforce that are entering it. And that trend is only going to accelerate. Baby boomers are not only retiring, but retiring earlier. Well, technically, by the way, I'm at the end of the baby. I was born in 1963. I am the end of the baby boomer generation, but I'm still going to be working. But many of my individuals are now beginning to retire, and they're trying to figure out how I can retire earlier. I'm not, but that's that's the aberration, not the norm. Demand for staffing is never, and when I mean staffing, I don't mean temp staffing. I'm talking about staffing, getting people and head count. And I don't think there's any sign just showing up. There's nothing, barring a major recession. Most of the high-end sales are, most of sales is growing, and I think is going to continue to grow. How to combat the Great Resignation and attract top talent. Review your talent. Look at this article. It's a blog. I think it's really good. Your hiring process. Look at your hiring process. There are 3 or 4 areas to look at. Okay. Number 1, the hiring process, your benefits, corporate culture. And if you're using an automated, if you're in bigger companies and you're using automated intelligence during the process, be very, very careful. And artificial intelligence is good at keyword searches, but many of the people that you're looking for, first of all, you got to go hunt them. And the ones that are applying may not have the keywords you're looking for in the resume, because many people put their resume together at the last minute and they're not professional resume writers. But resume writing systems are saying, hey, use keywords. And they're creating keyword resumes just to basically outsmart the applicant tracking system screenings. Basically, my recommendation is you leave it to a professional, respond to every applicant, communicate with everybody that applied, even if you say, we're reviewing your resume, and if we're interested, we'll get back to you. Encourage people to respond back to you. If you're a salesperson, you're looking for salespeople, and if a salesperson calls you up and you get aggravated, I'm like, you shouldn't. Those are the people you want. How many salespeople give up after the first time? Well, most 70% do, but most sales are made after the 5th no. So having an individual that's a little persistent should be given the respect, okay? Especially if they're communicating in a multiple variety of roles or ways, text, email, and phone. Give them the same respect that you'd want if you were in the role. And when working with recruiter, here's the scenario. The more time you spend with your recruiter and telling them about your culture, your process, what you're looking for, success in your people, the more success they're likely to have if you're working with a recruiter. Anytime somebody says to me, I'll give you 15 minutes, I'm like, I can't. I go, there's no way I can present your opportunity and have an acknowledgement of your workload in, what you're looking for in 15 minutes. So I'll do it at nights and on the weekends where I'll take our job intake forms. What makes it important is that's where we get the story of how to sell the company and how to present them in the most favorable light. That's when using a recruiter. Last, this is a great article and I'm not doing this to promote sales and marketing management, but this was a really good article. And it said cracking the sales compensation code. And that was salary strategies can't be stagnant. They can't be settling on a compensation structure. Aligning salary with desired outcomes, that's really good. Deliverables. Corporate culture is part of your comp plan. Clearly communicate the comp plan. Very important. There's a company I recently placed somebody with. They changed the comp plan 4 weeks into it. We've got a problem. Instead of waiting and articulating if they were going to change that comp plan, this is going to create problems down the road with those new hires, and that worries me. But what I'm saying is if they articulated their ability or their intention of changing it and letting that person know what that was going to be, I think there would have been less stress when they did change it. Here's an interesting article. I'm just going to go into briefly. 3 common myths that hiring managers share about job offer is number 1, they have all the power. Potential employees have incredible and expansive resources online, from salary insights and interview questions. They can go on Glassdoor and it says who interviews and how they interview and what questions they ask, okay? Basically, there's forums where they can get past the offer and compensation input. Number 2, second myth that most have hiring authorities is I have all the knowledge. Again, online resources provide some very open and engaging insight on your company's hiring process and negotiating style. Just because you can't find that information doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There are forums that people know that gravitate to. You have the advantage of time. Hiring managers think, wow, I have the advantage of time. No, you don't. Candidates are getting more proactive in their job search, even when they're using an executive recruiter. I compete I'm not worried about competing against the online boards for jobs. Those are fine. Those aren't the candidates we recruit. But I'm recruiting against the candidates themselves who's identifying companies that they like and going after themselves. So they're my competition is the candidate themselves. So I got to have the best position with them. But here's some interesting things on negotiating offers. I'm going to skip that. You can refer to it in the article. Here is some articles or places to share information or go to for more information, blogs, articles, and things like that. There's my LinkedIn, and I even have an Instagram now. I'm not active on it, but I do have one. And okay, before we go to questions, last thing, I just want to let you know, if you need to get a hold of me, my phone number is 603-894-0007, extension 215. And my email is Henry, Henry, at sales, that's plural, recruiters, that's also plural.com. Henry at salesrecruiters.com. If you have any questions, let me know. If you want to send me a LinkedIn invitation, and I'll accept, or number two, you want to follow my company, Sales Recruiters, or me, you can too. So I'm going to hand it, before we go to questions, last thing is I just want to thank the following people. Marilyn Jackson, who's a guru on the slide helping and getting all these slides together. Unfortunately, I had some typos, my fault because of my edits. Melanie Slate's phenomenal support person. She does all of our marketing and social media kind of coordination. We do a lot of it ourselves, but she guides us. She's been doing this for 5 years. From last summer at the Summer Entrepreneur and Business Academy at Stockton University, I met a very talented young man named Akil, who is a senior and just got accepted to Rutgers University, and I think it's Rensselaer Polytechnic. Great young man, smart as a whip. He goes to Lenape High School in New Jersey. He's going to be heading off to college. He's been helpful in doing some of the research and gathering this raw data. And lastly, I wanted to thank the staff and production coordinators, editors at Sales and Marketing Management. They made it look really easy, and they did a great job, and I'm so thankful for that. So I turn it back over to Sandy for the questions.
Yes. Thank you, Henry. Not only did you share the why behind we're experiencing what we're experiencing, but you gave us a few ideas on what we can do about it. And before you dash off, do me a favor right now for those that are in the audience, type in one word that represents the impression that you have after hearing this information. What's one word that represents, like, what are you going to remember about today's presentation? It was a lot of information. I appreciate all the resource information that you provided. So while you're thinking about your one word, we do have a question from Terry.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on using signing and completion bonuses to sweeten the pot and not give preferential treatment to the rest of the sales team? Ooh.
There are companies that are doing that. It sets a dangerous precedent, because what it basically does is says you have to leave the company or come to the company to get an increase in salary. Now, one thing that you may, instead of a sign-on bonus, is to give guaranteed let's say draw against the commissions based not on quota, but on activity. So if it takes 3 or 4 months to get up to speed, some people use that signing bonus as the way of using that as the sweetening pot to do it, because you're not going to get any commissions in the first 3 months if you have a 6-month sales cycle. Well, my recommendation, instead of doing it as a sign-on bonus, do it as a guaranteed commissions over a 3 or 4 month period. Sign-on bonuses, if they're more than just modest amounts, can create potential people leaving your company to go to other companies. The unintended consequences, you lose your people.
Yep. Yeah, that's a challenge. Well, we have answered all the questions. You're welcome to leave a comment. Douglas weighed in with a last minute question here. Can you break down the number of job openings you presented by level of job and or compensation? Ooh, is that 10 million entry level jobs?
Oh,
Or,
I'm sorry. The
yeah,
number of job openings was
by,
in general. That's the number of population. There's 10 million more jobs than people. Now, there's an article, I think it was Wall Street Journal or ZipRecruiter or one of them. I think it's in that stack deck or things, the article. But the article said that it was in Wall Street. I think it was in the Wall Street Journal, July of this year. I think it's in that article. 700,000 more jobs than salespeople. That's in sales. 700,000 jobs, more jobs than people, meaning open job orders.
right.
So
And the question was, do you have a sense for the level of the open jobs? Are they all entry level? Are they all looking for experienced people? What's
I don't know because the article didn't articulate that.
mm-hmm.
My gut tells me the lion's share, probably a third of those, or at least the entry level or that first level. Because keep in mind, as you go higher in the food chain and complexity, there's less people and less openings.
Yeah,
so there's usually 3 to 5 times the openings at each level. Each level kind of grows. Let's say you got 20 entry level salespeople. That would create, let's say, 4 next level. And then those become 1, 1, and 1, 1. So
that's great. Well, thank you so much. Kathy left a comment. Her
sure.
one word is possibility. So there is possibility, there is hope that we'll navigate through this, and I appreciate you sharing some great ideas on innovative things that other organizations are doing to attract and retain and navigate through the Great Resignation and everything else that's going on. So on
Can I
behalf
make
of
one more?
SMMconnect,
Can I
yeah,
make
go
one
ahead.
more comment?
Sure.
This is something that's really relevant, guys. One of the best things that companies can do is to provide ongoing training and input and things like that. And I'm not talking about training where you train the person, but just simply there are so many different seminars and webinars and information and resources. And I'm not employed by Sales and Marketing Management Connect. But what I'm saying is there are so many tools that literally you could give different tools to different people or different seminars just to your people and having them, and that will help enrich them and feel that they are growing. If you do that, that's one of the best things that you can do is take your people and help them grow. If you can do that, that'll help them feel valued and that you're here to see them develop. And it doesn't have to be expensive training or expensive sending them away to 3-day courses to do it. A lot of times it's simply bite-size, once a month webinar. This is a webinar topic I think Joe would really do well with. Susan really would suffice with client relationship building. Here's a seminar. And then what you do is have these individuals share it with the others. Then they feel like they're part of the team, and you've basically given them an opportunity to learn and to share. So
that's wonderful. And thanks for the plug, Henry. If you're interested in and you are in sales training, visit our sister network, which is Training Mag Network. And there's 200,000 trainers from around the world, a certain percentage of them sales trainers. And you're going to get just amazing free resources on how to up your training game for your organization. So thank you on behalf of SMMconnect, Henry, and we hope to have you back for more conversations. So this
if
is
there,
great.
thank you. You're welcome. If there's another topic that somebody would like me to address, let me know. I love doing research.
Yep,
So
yep. Definitely type it into
thank you.
chat. We'll leave things open. I'll stop the recording now. Everyone have
Thank
a
you.
great rest of your day.